We are all familiar with the rapid increase in the percentage of Muslim reverts all over the world, especially in America, where we hear the story of new Muslim reverts week in, week out. This video tells you the story of one such American sister, named Avalon Rose. In March 2020, Avalon gave up her former religion, Christianity, to join the fold of Islam. Let's shed some light on her inspiring journey to Islam. So, to begin with, Avalon was born in a very sheltered, traditional Christian home to white American parents. Up until the age of 10, Avalon was homeschooled through a Christian group, and at 10, she was baptized by her dad in the ocean. So, from the very beginning, Christianity was a very important part of Avalon's life. However, she never developed any hard feelings towards any other religion, especially Islam. Yeah, it's true that she had common stereotypes in her mind regarding Muslims, but she never really hated them. It was probably because many of the people around her, as well as many of her friends, were Muslims, and they seemed normal to her. Moving on, it wasn't until high school that Avalon came to know of the similarities between Christianity and Islam. That made her see Islam from a different perspective, and later proved to be her first step towards the Islamic way. It is also worth mentioning that even before that, Avalon would pick up a random scarf of hers and put it on her head as a hijab to see how it looks. It somehow intrigued her. Anyhow, at that point, Avalon had no inclinations towards accepting Islam. She just thought that Islam was cool, but didn't really stress over it too hard. Fast forward to Avalon's last semester in community college. She was 20 years old. It proved to be a transitionary period in her life. She was practically disillusioned with Christianity. She tried everything, whether we talk about going to church, interacting with fellow Christians, and more. But no matter what she did, she felt like she just didn't fit in. So what happened was that she ended up enrolling in the world's religions class at the last minute. There was a good chance that she wouldn't have been a part of the class, but alhamdulillah she was. So in the class, the world's biggest 5 religions, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, and Hinduism, were discussed. The main thing that Avalon learned from that class was that Christianity was not different from all the other religions. So she asked herself what was holding her to Christianity. Just because her parents were Christians, it didn't sound like a good enough reason to her. Another thing was that Avalon wasn't really interested in learning about Christianity, and she also realized that the concepts of Christianity, mainly the Trinity, didn't make any sense to her. So, after that class, Avalon felt like her eyes had been opened. She decided that she didn't want to be a Christian anymore. In fact, she didn't want to practice any religion at all. However, she did get excited to learn about Islam in that class. So, for the next 2 years of university, Avalon teetered between the identities of agnostic and atheist. She even had books on the respective subjects. Other times, she thought that God existed, but was not sure of herself. She basically had a lot on her plate during that time. She was studying, working multiple jobs, and hanging out with her friends simultaneously. So she didn't really have time to think about religion. During her last year of college, Avalon started dating a Muslim man. He never forced his faith on her or brought up anything religious that discomforted her. During this time, Avalon started having panic attacks. The first episode of these panic attacks occurred one night when she was lying on the bed at night, peeking at the stars. Suddenly, she was filled with dread, and she had all sorts of crazy ideas about how big a universe is and how short our lives are in comparison. It was at that moment that, after a long time, she thought what she was missing was religion. However, she was sure that she was not going back to Christianity. Circling back to the Muslim guy, Avalon was dating. As they spent more and more time together, Avalon grew more interested in Islam, and she would ask him all sorts of questions about his faith. His answers seemed to really impress her, as after a short while, she told him of her desire to convert to Islam. However, he was skeptical about it, thinking that if Avalon became a Muslim, their relationship would have to be more serious. Eventually ended up breaking up with Avalon, and looking back, Avalon feels glad that it happened. Moving on, in January 2019, although she wasn't yet ready to convert, Avalon gave up drinking just so that she gets used to it in the future. Almost a year later, 2 weeks after her breakup, Avalon ended up saying her Shahada on the 13th of March 2020. With a couple that she met in her local mosque. It is worth mentioning that it was the first day of quarantine in America, and everything was just shutting down. On the other hand, Avalon was overwhelmed with all kinds of emotions: purpose, excitement, guilt, what would happen when her parents found out, etc. Looking back at her conversion, Avalon says that it was the best decision of her life. Alhamdulillah. From that day forward, Avalon's life as a Muslim began. She started praying, fasting, and got an English version of the Holy Qur'an. Quarantine proved to be a blessing in disguise for Avalon, as she got loads of time to learn all these things and get better at them. Talking about the reaction of Avalon's parents to her conversion, they had their suspicions, but Avalon never explicitly told them. She would just avoid praying or doing any sort of religious activity in front of them. She wouldn't even wear her hijab while they were around. In any case, though, today, Avalon and her parents have come a long way in their relationship. It is not exactly ideal, but they have learned to respect each other's choices. Today, it wouldn't be true to say that Avalon is not struggling with her identity and that she is finding it hard to fit into certain Muslim communities with traditions of which she is not aware. However, she believes that it is no one's fault and that she is a work in progress. May Allah make her life easier and help her in all endeavors. Ameen.